I know it's like life is going to change so much when the kids go back to school, but will it?
I don't know. I went ahead and hit roll.
Okay. I will begin my recording.
Very unenthusiastic. I'll be more chipper.
How many days till elk season? Real quick. Sorry, I know we should know that.
It's like 12. I don't know.
No, it's like 18. I got like a 15-day forecast on my phone, and it's taking me to the 25th or 26th.
What
was that?
That was a birthday or something.
How many days until August 30th?
31st days.
I'm like, what?
We got like 18 days.
Oh, 18. Okay, 18 days.
So this is episode 26, by the way.
All right. Okay. All right. Welcome to the Elk Season Podcast, episode 26. We are the Chambers Brothers. My name is Harold.
I'm David.
And today on the Elk Season Podcast.
Well, lots of stories coming from, some experiences you've had recently.
Yeah.
We've got a few conservation stories, a really interesting story on buffalo.
Yeah.
That I came across. I don't know if I'm depressed or you'll see.
I found an interesting story on bears. You'd be surprised to know.
And bears, there's always stories on bears.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of those. An interesting twofer.
Okay.
Story about a twofer. 2-for-1. Has to do with harvesting. And
really?
We'll get to that. Yeah.
Okay.
A legal 2-for-1.
Okay.
A legal 2-for-1. But when you hear the story and you see the image, you're going to be like, sure.
Well,
sure.
It would not be impossible to pull off like 3 big game animals in September.
Yeah, but a 2-for-1 all at the same time.
Right, I know.
So I mean,
and it's legal.
Okay,
all right. I'm waiting for that. Look, I haven't even previewed some of these stories.
Yeah.
You're gonna blindside me.
It's like a half and half today.
This is a podcast / reaction video.
Yeah, that.
Let me practice.
And depending on our time, I've got a couple books that I found as I'm digging through stuff. So we'll talk about that. So
yeah,
I don't know. Just this one of them really changed the way that I hunt elk. Anyway, so there's that. We got a whole bunch of stuff. So I guess we're going to start with the story time, right?
My excursion. So I went out to see a friend. To see Jared. He's a guy we elk hunt with, who we're going to be elk hunting with this September.
Yeah.
He's a disabled Marine and a former Marine, right?
Yep.
And I can't say that. You can't say that. There's no such thing as a former Marine.
Yeah,
Once a Marine, always a Marine. Sorry about that.
Yes.
So he was going to make it down and hike with me, and just to look at elk. He's the kind of guy like us to be like, hey man, you got 10 minutes. Let's drive 6 hours so we can spend 10 minutes looking at elk.
Yeah.
And then drive back. That's
a good time.
That is a good time to him, and he is absolutely dedicated to do that. He ended up having to watch his grandkid, and so he couldn't make it down. So anyways, I went up, I hiked up, I placed a trail camera. I saw a bunch of elk in our regular
stomping grounds.
Yeah, our stomping grounds.
Yeah.
Saw a lot of elk. And knowing that we're not going to go there opening weekend.
Kind of bitter
it's
pill.
Rough.
It's a bitter pill now.
Yeah. But I've been looking forward so much to Middle Creek.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've been there.
So much. There's always action. I always see elk up there. Always. And
I'm trying to sneak in an extra day.
I know. I like that.
I think I can do it.
I like that. So anyways, that's that was a fun trip. I went up to Phillipsburg, Montana, and spent some time at Flint Creek Valley Days, which was a lot of fun. They had a car show, all the old car shows, and Montana is 6 months of heaven. It is 6 months of heaven, but it is 6 months of winter. It really is.
When I moved to Idaho, my joke to everybody was Idaho's coldest day in winter is Montana's warmest day in summer.
Yeah, sometimes it feels that way.
It was hard to adjust, and every now and then I still have a hard time to adjust, particularly the wind.
Yeah.
Montana just doesn't have the constant blow of wind.
Not where we grew up. Great Falls, if you get out of the mountains, there's a lot of wind out there, but not where we grew up.
Where we grew up, so that was a tough pill to swallow in Idaho. I liked to fly kites because when you'd get the wind, it was tempered wind in Montana.
Yeah.
And I moved to Idaho. I started flying kites, and they got all torn to crap because the wind has no way to slow down.
Yeah.
And so I just stopped.
You can't hold back the wind.
It's either too much or too little.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. It really is. So, anyway, the where was I? I went to some even older stomping grounds.
Yeah.
So a place outside of Wisdom, Montana, where you and I and my good elk buddy, my first elk hunting partner, Dennis or Slim, is one of the places where we spent a lot of time.
Yeah, just eons of time. I don't know if I'm using the right term, but
it feels like eons.
It was eons ago, but we spent a load of time fishing and hiking and BSing and
it's a different place than it was. You know, it really is. It's changed a lot. And we've seen it change over the years.
Yeah, I remember the first time going up there, they had clear cut and planted, and the trees were, I don't know, probably a decade and a half
I agree.
growth. And so, but it was thick growth, right?
Super thick.
And then about by the end of so early 90s, it was this thick regrowth where they had replanted trees where they had cut. And then by the end of the 90s, we went up there on a camp trip, just you and I, and they had cut down. They'd gone in and thinned out.
A lot.
Yeah. And then we saw that bear that in 99 on one of those trails back there.
Yeah.
But the way that you've described it, and I guess you could describe it again because...
Well, I saw it because we camped near there.
Yeah.
We camped near there, and so we would drive up the road and see what it looked like. I didn't get a chance to get out and explore normally like when we had camped there.
Yeah.
So you get to see it, but you go, oh, look, there's beavers here now. Oh, interesting. Look at these big beaver ponds. How nice. It's great brookies.
Wow.
Great brookies in the beaver ponds. And so I didn't put all those steps together, and then you go back, all of a sudden you go, well, let's go to college, let's have kids, let's it's 20 years later, and you're like,
20 years,
what happened? And so, well, it's been 20 years. You go visit it 3 years apart, it looks different. Then 4 or 5 years later, it looks different, and all of a sudden it's 20 years. It's almost unrecognizable. It's just not the same place. It's not the same place. But there was a place, and we drove that road, Foothills Road. We drove Foothills Road
time and time again,
over and over and over again. And there's a little place where there's like a little campsite and like a log fence that just goes off, and there's a trail next to that log fence.
Yeah.
You remember that place I'm talking about?
No.
It's at one of those turns. You turn and you go over the creek, and then there's 3 or 4 places. It sort of jackknifes in, and you got to swerve back out because it gets real close into the gully, and it goes over the water, and then it swings back out along the mountain edge, and then after a while you kind of got to pull back in to the mountain.
Nope,
you don't know. All right,
it's not ringing a bell, but it's a great description.
There's 3 or 4 places like that. One of them has what looks like a regular campsite. It doesn't have like its own steel fire ring or anything, but it looks like it's been used for camping. And it's got these little logs that I always recognize it as like a partial fence that kind of head back there. And there's an obvious trail. And Jared says to me as we go past this, he goes, "Oh, because Slim showed me Foothills Road."
Yeah.
So he had been on Foothills Road before, we really hung out a lot. But he goes, "Oh yeah, Slim showed me this area." But he goes, "I came here hunting with a buddy of mine, and we hiked up that trail." And he goes, "It was like mid-October, October 20th or something, and it had snowed like 2 inches, so it's perfect hunting." And he finds grizzly tracks.
Ooh, nice.
And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "So we turned around and went." Right? There's gonna be a lot of those guys. I don't know if I'm a guy that's gonna turn around. I don't know.
Yeah.
Depending on how positive or negative that whole feeling is, that whole experience could be statistically, if I take care of myself, and protect myself and follow all the right steps, I'll be fine. So that's where I am on that. But there's going to be a lot of people like that when known grizzlies are in the area. There's going to be plenty of guys that that just say, you know what, that's far enough for me.
Yeah, it's chance encounter though. I mean, you never know. You never know.
So and he lives in Glacier.
Yeah.
So Jared lives at, I think, Whitefish, which is right on the edge of Glacier. He has bears in his garbage, his personal garbage. And I don't know how much of this I should be saying, because he shot at one with a pistol. And he goes, I don't know how I missed that thing, but man, I wanted to fill my bear tag. Anyways, as it's digging through his garbage. So I don't know. He's done some crazy things.
That's terrible.
So, but he also said he said he saw a grizzly in his garbage.
Wow.
So, they're out there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. The last time I saw grizzlies, we saw 4 grizzlies. I was with Jared. I was 15 minutes from his house driving along the lake. So we saw a sow and 3 cubs. So I know they're there.
A perfectly calm situation that you can stroll in and cuddle up with one of those cute little cubbies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Pet it.
Let's go in. Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't advocate
You're just
for that.
fine.
Yeah.
You're just fine. They're just like the fluffy cows in Yellowstone.
Stay away from the wildlife.
Yeah. Yeah. And do everybody a favor and teach that bear a lesson.
Yeah.
Don't just say, hey, bear. I mean, if you got a gun, fire it. Up in the air.
Making
up in the
noise,
air.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. That bears have sensitive ears and sensitive noses, right? And if they get a negative experience when they encounter a human, they're going to not want to encounter humans after that. They learn lessons like that. So they carry a lot of guys carry like a flashbang. It's not a gun, but it's just you just pull it. A lot of guys in Canada, since they don't have a lot of handguns up there, they just carry these little flashbangs. Yeah,
makes me wonder if they'd be a decent deterrent.
Those hurt my ears.
What?
Huh? So
they hurt the kids' ears because I booby trapped the bathroom.
And then video, or it didn't happen, buddy.
Well, the last one was a dud. The string pulled out and didn't cause anything.
Yeah, those things were always duddy.
Yeah, so I've got, I don't know, half a dozen more.
I know. You have to squint and turn your head when you do them by hand.
I perfected, in this house, I've got door handles that allow me to make loops on each end of the string. And in the bathroom of our house, the bathroom door swings open to the closet door, and both handles are right next to each other. So what you do is you open the closet door in the bathroom, sandwich down to 2 doors, and then you have it pre-looped. You loop it over the handles. You close them gently. Yeah. And then you just you quietly walk away and wait for the carnage and the awesomeness. Sorry, this has nothing to do with hunting.
Nothing at all. And then set up a trail camera.
Yeah.
And then we're connected back.
I guess that's a good way to practice trail camera.
Is.
So now I think I have a better way of getting your footage. So that's a good way to test out new gear. I'm just saying. That's a pro tip.
So it was interesting to hear stories about an area from a fellow hunter and a friend, and it was just nice to drive down that area and see it. We didn't go up into we drove nothing but Foothills Road. We really didn't go up into Isaac Meadows.
Okay,
and we didn't go too. We went up to the lake actually.
All right,
we went that far up, and that old the old cabin at the lake is still there, and you still have to really ford the river to get to the lake. But so it was nice. It was nice to see the area. I don't know how much game we saw. If I did, I didn't register it. I saw so much game on Thursday night, mule deer and so many elk.
Yeah.
From my position, there's a place we call Elk Ridge.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Do you having second thoughts on Labor Day weekend?
So I say that, but the grass is always greener.
Right? It's tough. The perception of the two different areas. This is my experience in the areas.
Yeah.
When I've gone to the Middle Fork or
Middle Creek. Yeah.
The best screaming matches I've ever been in with a bull. Have both occurred in that area. But the elk seem to be moving through on that Labor Day weekend. Yeah. Give or take a day or two, because you're going to be there, they're all going to be there, and then they're gone. Whereas the other place, they're more steady, they're more spread out. I haven't gotten into screaming matches, but I have gotten into calling situations that have garnered some great opportunities.
Yeah.
And so it's just two different areas, and I don't know. I'm kind of excited to see if anything comes of this Middle Creek. In 20 days.
Yeah,
really.
we are 18 days from elk season.
18.
And then because elk season starts on a Tuesday, I'm not going to be out first day.
No.
I might be out on Thursday, September 1st,
and it ends on a Friday. You have to finish up on a Friday if you're lucky enough to be out there, and you have to stare at the weekend going, you son of a
yeah. It really shortens the whole elk season.
Yeah.
So, I have a different data set for that area. I've been up there at different times of the year, and have had some really, really great experiences all through September. Yeah. Not the screaming matches though. The best screaming match was Labor Day weekend with you,
and the
that I've ever seen.
So that was the first screaming match I ever was like, holy crap, this blew my mind. The second screaming match, coincidentally, was when I hiked in with Jared.
Yeah,
him and I got into a screaming match across the canyon in Middle Creek. Middle Creek.
Yeah.
So. And the data sets that I've tried to collect going up a couple weeks after, I don't see anything, I don't hear anything, and so I like the Labor Day weekend there, but I don't really care for being up there other times. So
okay, and that's why we're going up there Labor Day weekend.
Yeah,
it's a heavy backpack trip in too. It is 4 miles to base camp.
It's a good time.
4 miles. There's other guys that go in there with horses and mules. And it's because it's great. You're deep in there, and we've been in there many times, and we've seen bear and seen some nice bucks and seen plenty of elk.
I've hiked up there non-hunting seasons and caught brookies.
So. Yeah. So it's a great little area, and it's not so much at the base. What I like about the other place we hunt is just the view.
Yeah.
It's just stunning.
It's pretty remarkable.
It's just, it never gets old, man. Every time you see it, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here again.
Yep.
This is amazing. So, and up Middle Creek, it feels very isolated.
Yeah.
So, and I like that feeling too. And I've hiked in there alone. I don't even know how many times, but I've had some crazy close encounters. And had a lot of fun. So yeah, we're hamming out the details now. The 14-day forecast, the 2-week forecast or 15-day forecast or whatever it is, goes almost because elk season is 18 days away.
Yes,
we're not going to go out for another 20 days.
Yeah,
so we're getting really close to the time where we can start to see the extended weather forecast, and that's when you know you're close.
Yeah,
when you can see the extended weather forecast on your phone and say, okay, this is when I'm going hunting. Oh man, it's real. And so we look every cloud we can manage to throw in the sky. Please. I want to put it there for Labor Day weekend. It's usually pretty hot. We've had some really, really hot Labor Day weekends, and the 15-day forecast is in the 90s all the way through.
Wow,
for where we are.
Yeah.
So there have been a lot of thunderstorms moving through, a lot more than recent years.
Yeah, it was when we went camping in Montana last month. I know it's Montana, it's not Idaho, but just like the prime time to try to visit with everybody just dumps on you. It's like,
well, even last week it rained right here.
Yeah.
For like 2 days.
Yeah, that's
right.
It
was cloudy and muggy and rainy.
Yeah.
So, it's not typical.
Yeah.
In my recollection, I don't actually keep track. I just kind of think about it. But yeah, and I pay attention to the storms that roll through Ketchum.
Yeah.
And kind of follow them and see where they go and see where any of the storms in Idaho are. And even south towards Cary as well. So between Cary and Stanley.
Well, it was raining in Boise, yesterday?
Yeah,
it was stretching.
Yeah, there was warnings.
It was stretching across from Boise over to Montana. Basically.
Yeah, thunderstorm warnings. Yeah, big storm warnings. So sometimes they're dry and it starts fires. And this year when I was up, I came down between North Fork and Salmon, Idaho. There's a fire, and so I got some really cool footage. I could actually see flames on the mountain as I'm driving down the highway.
I have no doubt. Yeah, I've been wanting. So I've been hoping those can get under control. That the outlook for those fires are like October before they're going to be anywhere near containment or something.
Oh,
like that.
geez, there's nobody on the side of that mountain fighting it.
Yeah,
it's too steep. It's too no.
Yeah,
no. Some of the other places, maybe they could, but a majority of it's going to be done with helicopters and planes and stuff.
And I think there's the lightning strike one up north of Stanley. They have to let it burn. It's just wilderness. I mean.
It's supposed to burn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So anyways, that's my report from my weekend. And it's been, this is elk season episode 26. I think it's been 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's been a while.
You were sick last week.
I was sick last week.
And I was gone the week before. And what was it the week before that?
We were...
I don't know, taking a week off?
Maybe. I don't know.
So it's been a busy summer. It's always a busy summer. And cram in as many adventures as you can. I got one more chance, really, to phone scope, to go for a hike and phone scope.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to take it.
So, update on the cameras that we placed?
Yeah. Geez, I got to do that too.
Sorry.
No, that's good.
Maybe I shouldn't have said anything.
So one of them is and I don't want to get those until I'll go up there after elk season starts, but before we hunt.
Okay.
That's what I would predict. Is I'd go up there, take a hike, retrieve the cameras and the data, and compile a report and say, hey, here's what the camera saw, if anything. And I think they'll see something. It looked like some really prime area. So yeah, I have to retrieve those cameras, but that has to be at a different opportunity. Just because I want it to get all the way up through August, all the way into elk season. So that's what I'm hoping for. And so only one more opportunity. I haven't had a chance to take my 5-year-old out. I'm worried that just how good of a hiker he is. We go hike around the lake.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Dad, carry me." Right? I'm like, "Buddy, this is a mile. It's not that far." So I really want to take him. I think I will. I think I will take him camping and let him sleep in a cot and maybe roast some marshmallows and go for do the camping thing.
Absolutely.
And give him a cow talk or try to make him hike up the staircase. I know.
Oh wait, I thought you said the Elk Ridge, but you did say the staircase.
I wanna phone scope Elk Ridge, but I want to do it from the staircase. And I love the staircase. I'm very fond of the staircase. I mean, it is a 1-hour hike. You are at elevation, and
you're on a good wooded side of the mountain.
Yeah, you're in such a great position, and so I'm kind of fond of it. I like it better than Morning Ridge.
I guess I'm not as fond of it because it seems like I've hiked it too many times in the heat of the day
at the wrong time.
And I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, you know how I hike too. I go. There's some shade. Can I make it to the shade? Okay, go to the shade. Hike, stop.
There's really not much shade to speak of, though. On
there isn't.
The staircase.
There isn't. I did it. You have to get a little bit inside the mountain.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did last year when I hiked it.
But I do like. I am fond of it because we've jumped elk up there. We were trying to get around a herd that one time, and we literally.
I was thinking about that story last night. I was thinking about that story last night because we were on one side of the draw. And we watched this big bull elk hustle his cows.
I've got a little YouTube video of him. Yeah,
hustle his cows into the trees, and we're like, "Hey, if we go up the staircase, we'll be at elevation."
Yeah, in the morning,
and we can just march over and get him. So we hike up the staircase, and guess who's there waiting for us?
He's right there.
He knew we were there. Well, anyways. It's shame on us.
Well, yeah, we should have paid more attention.
He saw us before we saw him, and this Morning Ridge or this staircase that we hike, parallels the road.
Yeah.
If there's any single car coming up that road, we know it.
Yeah.
And if we have our headlamps on, they know we're there.
Yeah.
So I don't like to hike up with in the dark with headlamps. But
if it's a full moon or a partial moon, you got good light actually.
His cows were grazing in full sight of that road.
Yeah.
And he saw us. He stepped up. He made one bugle.
Yeah, it was a little bark.
Every one of those cows knew what it meant.
Yep.
And they followed him into the trees at a very high altitude.
Yep.
At a real high altitude. Elevation.
And it was a nice herd.
Altitude is your distance above the ground.
He had a good harem.
Yeah. He was a nice bull. He was big.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Huge.
And last year, when I hiked up the staircase, you remember the story, right?
Tell me again.
I hike up. I set up camp. I'm like, okay. I need to get some water. I'm just going to hike over here to get some water.
That's right.
Before I even get there, I jump a grouse. I shoot at a grouse. Then I see two elk have I have video of it. Because I was, we were barking back and forth at each other.
Yeah.
Like, no, you show yourself. No, you show yourself. No, where are you again?
That's right.
So anyway, I had a real close encounter with some elk right off that ridge, right off the staircase.
Wow.
So, and it is a great place to glass because both I was able to glass because I camped up there.
Yeah.
I was able to glass until dark, and I was able to glass at first light. And elk in the Elk Ridge, right where I said, "Hey, let's hike down there." I've always seen elk down here so far this year.
Yeah.
Let's hike down there, and that's where we heard that spike bugle.
Yeah.
So that's what I was glassing, is that area from the top of the staircase. So, anyways.
God, no, I don't know if I want to second guess.
I know.
Decisions.
I know. But here's the thing. I have spent last November, I started going to the gym 5 days a week. I haven't gone to the gym 5 days a week in years, 4 or 5 years. And so I have been doing this for 9 months now. I've been going 5 days a week with very few exceptions. We had a trip to Mexico, right? We had a family reunion trip. So there's a few weeks that it didn't happen, but usually 1 or 2 workouts a week happened. But most weeks it was 5 days. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, every single one of those days. So I feel really good. I feel strong. I feel healthy. I feel so much better than I did last year. And the hikes I've had this year have felt really good. I mean, my knees aren't what they used to be, but other than that, the conditioning of it, I feel in much better shape this year.
Awesome.
So you say which side? Well, both. That's my answer. We'll hike up one, zoom down. It's always my big plans.
I wasn't really a question of which side.
I know, decisions.
I don't care what kind of shape I'm in. Staircase just sucks to me. But there's other ways to get up there, and the candy cane route is my preferred method because it's like you get the elevation without the perception of steepness or the experience of the steepness.
Yeah,
it still gets you up there, but it comes from the other side. Yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of depending on what you want to do, because motivations can change.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, my best experience 1 year was hiking up the staircase midday, and by the end of the day I didn't get in I started a screaming match, but he didn't finish. He got quiet. And that's when I couldn't sit still for 20 minutes.
Oh yeah.
So
that was the day you took the staircase?
I took the staircase.
Wow.
And I went to not to the candy, I went to the cross, the little open field, and I sat down there. It was probably between 3 and 4:30 I sat there, and I glassed the ripper. Yeah. And I saw a bull and a bunch of cows in there, and I was like, well, they're on the wrong side of the hill. And then about 5:30 I started hiking again, and I came across 3 cows, a big cow, and I had her at 50, and that's when he bugled. Oh. And so I held off. I had a perfect broadside shot at 50.
Oh wow.
And anyway, so I heard that bugle. They took off, and I got to where they were at, and I bugled back, and he cut me off. So I started cutting him off, and then about 4 bugles into it, I muffed my reed in my mouth, and it made a weird noise, and he stopped calling. But a tactic that I learned from a book I'm going to talk about today told me to go ahead and try this tactic, and it did work, but I had never done it before, so my rookie side got the best of me. The sun was going down quick, but I kept calling randomly as I continued to hike through, and I came out at the candy cane meadow. Yeah. And I sat down. I said, I just need to sit down here for 20 minutes. Light is fading, but I bet you if anybody's going to come to me, he's going to come to me here. And I kept moving because I kept going, oh, there's a better vantage point,
Grass is always greener.
I got to where he was coming up. He came through the tree, saw me, and bolted. Oh. And I was 40 yards away from him. He was huge. Oh. Big. But and I still remember how massive his antlers looked at the top of his head. Like huge masts, sticking out of his brow. And I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. And then he continued to be aggressive after that, but he would never come back to me. He kept bugling, but it wasn't a screaming match. It was just like, I'm bugling to see who else is out there. And then that cow that I saw in the Ripper was coming out and with his cows, and he was screaming. So, but I just was no vantage point, no way to get around him.
I think, a lot of the things we learned early this year through the podcast, by sharing content and talking about it. Some of the tactics that we need to employ a little more effectively, a little more often. Yeah. A little more cow calling.
More cow calling is the biggest takeaway I've had this year so far. I'm like, I got a call. I don't need to. I could, and maybe I should.
You're just saying, hey, right, like a lost cow.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, and if a bull's out there and he's alone, he'll answer. Hey, what's up, girl? I'm right here. Anyway,
so I'm going to get this out of the way. This shouldn't take too long. I have a book here called Tough Trip Through Paradise. I've mentioned it before. The author was a manuscript left behind by a guy named Andrew Garcia. It was found by, and I just kind of thumbed through a minute ago, it was found by a guy named Bennett H. Stein. And his address is listed here. He's from Montana. And he has a foreword in here. He just talks about, hey, I found this manuscript. I pieced it together. It's loosely written. It's poorly written, but I'm going to, this is this guy's story.
Yeah.
And it apparently takes place between 1878 and 1879. Wow. And I didn't even think about that. It says it right on the cover, and it tells you those dates. So this whole manuscript takes place over the course of a couple of years of a guy going in the late 1800s, wanting to be a trader in terms of fur trading and things like that. He wants to live in that isolated mountainous area, and people think he's crazy, but he goes to the Muscle Shell Wilderness, northern Idaho, western Montana, and starts to do it. He starts to just do his trapping and trading thing. So he was one of the last, according to him, this was becoming less and less favorable kind of work. He had darker skin tone because of his Hispanic or Spanish influence somewhere. His skin color allowed him to mix in better with natives that I remember talking about. And so it was less of a white guy versus, because people would see him and they know, oh, he's the trader, or he's not a white guy kind of thing. And so, but he shares a lot of interesting stories, one of which is a time that we'll never see. And that is, if you have a small herd of horses, when you are running low on meat, you can go to your horses at a certain time of day, and the elk will be intermingling with them.
Yeah.
And you just ride up on your horse with your carbine or whatever it is and kill your elk and take it back to camp. That's what he talked about that a few times. I went out and found the horses, and there was an elk, harvested an elk and took him back to camp, and we had meat.
Wow.
So he has a really interesting grizzly story where he was with his wife, who was a Nez Perce survivor of the Battle of the Big Hole.
Wow.
And they fought off a bear at one point.
Oh,
a big old grizzly bear. He talked about him being really, I don't know, out of sorts. Like it was, I don't know if he killed him or scared him off, but it was a rough
But it messed him up?
I mean, it got to their gear. I think, I don't know if he attacked. I don't know if I think one of them got attacked or something, but they lived, but it was, I'd rather not deal with a grizzly bear kind of story. Like I could deal with anybody in the world, but a grizzly bear was not fun. And there's some brutalities, of the time, it's, after the major civil wars, after the Native American, United States government wars, you're in this weird period of time. So it's kind of a cool time capsule book.
Yeah.
And one of the stories that I've always loved and have been horrified by, was about a miner that got murdered by natives, out of Phillipsburg, which you were talking about. Right?
Yeah.
So, anyway, kind of a cool place. A random find that I found at Barnes & Noble, just looking through old looking for old stories from the West.
Yeah.
From around that time period, and I just happened to come across it in 2000.
There's some good ones.
13.
Yeah.
But back to
I read one once, or listened to one rather, on a female who wanted to move out west alone, and she had a baby.
wow.
Yeah, and she met all kinds of interesting people and helped. There was a sheep herder, woman who was like the head of the ranch, and she had to go out to all of her sheep herders on Christmas Eve, and she literally delivered delicious, homemade, fresh, hot food and candy to all her sheep herders in a blizzard on Christmas Eve.
Wow.
And this woman was there to help her through it. Anyways, there's a lot of great stories throughout the West. And find one.
Yeah.
Find one and read it.
You've
They're
talked about
great.
many. So
yeah.
I wish I had more. I need to reread that book because there's a lot more to the story.
And I'm reading another one right now by Timothy Egan. Yeah.
Oh, Timothy Egan.
By Timothy Egan. And it's about this guy, Edward Curtis, who was a photographer from Seattle, who just made it his life's mission to document the Native Americans before they went away.
Wow.
To document their culture, their religion, and their songs, and everything he could. And Roosevelt was one. He photographed Teddy Roosevelt's children.
Wow.
He was good friends with Teddy Roosevelt and Gifford Pinchot. And they all believed in his project, and nobody had money for him. And I'm not done reading the book, but anyway.
Wow.
It's a great story, and there's lots of them out west. Cool. Lots of good ones.
This other book, though, that I'm going to talk about today, it's called Elk Tactics. Back in 2011, thinking about the time and effort we'd put in at that point.
Yeah.
I guess the context is this. When I find this book, it's after you and I have gone through the screaming match in Middle Creek.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of rejuvenated. Like I'm really on cloud nine. Like
because we went out in the wilderness many times
and never had
not even see an elk.
Yeah. And so I need more data. I need more information. And so I go to the local Sportsman's here, and they had a book section, and it just says Elk Tactics, and it's like $11. And I buy it and I take it home, and I just started reading. And like I read it in like less than 3 hours. Like I was this weird sponge that reads through this, and there's I guess context here. It's written by Don LeBau or Don LeBac. I'm not sure how to say his name.
Okay.
Don Laubach and Mark Henkel. One of these two individuals is, or maybe both of them, but one of them was one of the, I guess, inventors of the elk call back in the day.
One of the first real cow calls.
Yeah.
With bugles, guys have been bugling and finding ways to bugle for many, many, many years. But nobody was really doing cow calls until this guy,
So and again, I don't remember who wrote what where, but one of them was talking about living near the Missouri Breaks.
Uh-huh.
And very popular, well-known area for elk.
Yeah.
And he talked about not just hunting there, but spending a lot of time just going out and filming to try to understand. So if you're going to develop and design a reed, he spent a lot of time taking VHS tape after VHS tape of how elk are communicating.
And physically dissecting their tracheas.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. The video I watched back when me and Slim first got into it, we rented every VHS we could get our hands on about elk. And he actually took something out of a refrigerator and showed the throat and trachea and how it was shaped and how the elk pinch it to make the sounds that they do as they force air through. Yeah, and he goes, this is what I'm mimicking. So yeah, it was fantastic. The guy also experimented a lot with cow elk in estrus urine.
Wow. Because
it's such a strong and potent pheromone that he was on a hillside. I remember this in the video. He's on a hillside and the elk are downwind from him. Right?
Wow.
But he's spraying this into the air and they are like coming towards him. It's not mating season, right? But he has this pheromone, so it's really out of place. So they're really curious about it. But and that's really what the elk showed, is that this is curious. So from what I remember, that same guy was working with the urine too. So
it's a treasure trove of information that you really hold up to your own experiences to find the correlations.
yeah.
He himself, or they actually call themselves out and saying, like, we're not biologists, we're not, but this is our gained experience. This is how we got our experience. And if you want transparency on how knowledge has been acquired, this is a great book for that. And I agree. They didn't know everything, and some of the stuff still shoots from the hip, so to speak. But for the most part, there's a lot of it that still worked and solidified the experiences that I had, several experiences at that point, and then many more experiences since then. We've come across other people that are rooted in biology, like
Chris Rowe.
I almost said Mike Rowe. That's a different Rowe.
Chris Rowe, Rowe Hunting Resources.
And so, people of all different walks and experiences help you build what you need to be successful.
It takes a village to raise an elk hunter.
But how do I break?
So, where's your village? Well, it's all over the internet, man.
When I look at mountains to hunt elk, I refer to the advice that they provide in here. And that's how I found the place that we've talked about, that we're like, do we go back to Morning Ridge and Candy Cane, all that, that place was identified by me through the advice that they gave on how to break down and look for a place that harbors elk.
Oh, really?
And so I used what they told me. I got on Google Earth and I started to look around and scout around, and that's where I ended up. Was there.
I don't know if we had Google Earth. 2009. Did we have Google Earth?
So this is 2013 when I applied this information. Yeah. And this is a book from 1999, by the way. Oh
yeah. Yeah, so when I found Middle Creek, I just knew that a lot of guys elk hunt on this road, right? And they like to park here and hike this ridge. So I just drew a circle from the ridge to the road, and I went to the middle of the circle. Right? That was all I did. I know there's elk in here because everybody hunts it.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go where they won't go, which was apparently 4 miles in. And sure enough, there's elk there.
So,
but yeah, that's great. So I bet it's different every time you read it, because you have different experiences that you're applying and can attach the ideas.
The number of experiences I've had since I read this book initially, far buries any number of experiences I had prior to it. So a handful of experiences when I read the book, but I've got more. I don't have enough hands to count the experiences I've had since I read this book. Now, the book isn't going to change your life, but it's going to help you apply your knowledge to your hunting experience, I think. And again, it's one read, and some people are probably like, it's dumb, not my thing. That's fine. But, coming up as a first generation hunter, having gained what experience I could at that point, I mean, there are stories in here, at least for me, that at least 2 or 3 of them that aren't, again, it's their experience, not ours, but it really screams it's analogous. It's almost the same,
reminiscent.
Like, I heard this noise, we thought it was, but we thought it wasn't, but then it was, and anyway, just one of those. It's just, I don't know, I can't say enough good things about it. I just love it. I know I loved it enough to forget about it for a while, but I've got tons of things underlined, and I've got notes here and there, and I don't know why I wrote this down. It doesn't have any wherewithal now, but I don't know why I was trying. Maybe this is some sort of validation statement I wrote down here, because I guess I like it when people are transparent. Yeah. So this is kind of a transparency
I appreciate
statement.
That. Yeah.
Because I wrote here, he speaks to the mistakes as well as the success.
Yeah.
And I think I had come across some literature prior to this book where they just talked about the success. And it's like, no, that's not the learning tool. The mistakes are the learning tools. Yeah. You have to make the mistakes in order to find the success. And
Randy Newberg's really good at that.
Yeah.
He goes, hey, we failed, but here's what we learned. Forget the mistake, remember the lesson.
Yeah.
Forget the mistake and remember the lesson. That's all you got to do. So, and enough lessons, and you'll be as good as anybody out in the hills. That's the problem. That's the tough thing, is accumulating those lessons.
Yeah.
And those lessons are available for 1 month out of the year, and it's 3 hours away, and you've got a busy life, or however far away it is for you.
Yeah.
So those lessons are hard to come by and remembered well, usually. We'll see. All right, we time for conservation news. Are we finally okay?
All right, if my machine will load.
I think I only had 3 stories this week,
and I got 3 as well.
Oh, okay, and then I had all my adventures.
Yeah, so I actually saw this. You brought it into the podcast, Codpast. Coincidentally, it's related to cod in a really roundabout way because it has to do with fish. Anyway,
okay.
The podcast. You brought this to the podcast, but I had seen it just yesterday actually about the salmon returning. The salmon count going up the Columbia, up the Salmon River.
Yeah,
is the highest count in many years.
Yeah,
so tell us some more.
I'm just excited about it. I haven't, I buy the Sportsman's package every year, and it comes with salmon permit. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. I haven't fished for salmon. So I've started the investigation process of what kind of gear do I need? What time of year is it?
Yeah.
And so I'm starting to pay attention to the data points that come along in my social media feeds.
You got me excited for salmon fishing that I actually put my salmon stuff in my wallet.
Right. Right. You go, hey, if he figures it out and he comes, hey, I got you. I got him. I got him dialed in. Let's go. You'd go.
Yeah. It's right there. It's in. I don't have my wallet in here, but I put something in my wallet earlier, and I was like, oh yeah, I put those in here because I got all revved up for salmon hunting. But salmon hunting, whatever. Yeah. But
and so I did pay a little bit closer attention as I'm driving towards North Fork, Idaho. Through along the Salmon River, all the way from Chalice all the way up to North Fork. And as I'm driving, I notice very few fishing boats, but right where the Pissimiroy River, are you familiar with that?
No, but
the Pissimiroy River comes out. There was a bunch of boats right there.
Huh.
And there's another hatchery right up that road.
Okay.
So, right, if that's where they hatch, then that's where they're going to go back to. And they all have to make that turn, and there's big holes along anytime there's another body of water entering. There's usually a rapid and then a slow part and then a little bit of a hole. So anyway, there's a bunch of boaters there. When I talked to Jared about it, I go, you know what? Let's just hire a guide. Let's just go out. I need to see what kind of gear they're using. I just need to talk to a guy.
Yeah.
I need to be on the river, and so I kind of made tentative plans with Jared to just. Hey, let's spend a few bucks. Let's really learn something, and that's I think the next step in my investigative process, and we'll see where it takes us. But I'm excited. I'm excited about salmon. Somebody brought me. I worked with a guy over in Nampa, Idaho. He was big into it. He liked to smoke the salmon, and he brought one in, and it's this big. It's 2 foot long piece of tinfoil, and he opens it up. I could not believe how delicious it was. I could have sat there all day and just picked at it. It was so heavenly. Anyway, so that's what I'm trying to connect. How can I get more of that delicious salmon?
Yes.
And how can I have more fun outdoor experiences?
Correct. Sawtooth National Forest has closed some places. Speaking of North Fork, because of bears, apparently.
Yeah, I think it's the North Fork of the Boise River because it's in the Sawtooth Wilderness.
Yeah, I think so. Possibly.
But that's what I think. I mean, I don't know. They just said you can't camp at a dispersed camping area. You have to camp at a designated camping area.
Okay.
There's 2 different kinds of camping areas: designated and dispersed.
Yeah.
So designated would have outhouses and fire rings. Dispersed would be a place to park along the road.
Yeah. You provided an image here of an elk with an antler sticking out of its neck.
Yeah, a broken antler from another elk sticking out of its neck.
Now, if it was from its own antlers, that's a trick I'd pay.
Yeah.
I'd pay that. I'd buy that for $1.
You see. I came across a video this week of 2 elk, and elk 101. I think it was either last year or the year before, either 21 or 2020, where they actually kill an elk during a battle.
Wow.
And so you watched all the ones from 2021, right? All the Elk 101?
Yes.
You know the Destination Elk, their series. You watched all that. So if you didn't see it, then it was the previous year. It was 2020. But if you watch it, I mean, it is a ferocious battle. And you sent me video of a guy who's like filming this ferocious battle.
Yeah, it's
I saw a ferocious battle in a river this
wow.
week. Oh yeah, so that came across my scroll.
Yeah,
and that's fun to see. But it is the intensity, the level of intensity, and they're 800-pound monsters.
yeah.
They are big. They are
So
big.
what happens if you see a miles long? What would you say? Because you're talking about elk being big.
Yeah.
What happens if you see a miles long? I don't even know what to call this stretch of these things running.
Of bull elk?
No, just elk in general.
Oh.
This is north of Fort Hall. And
Yeah.
it just miles and miles. There's a huge herd that was just migrating.
Yeah.
And this thing is just, I'm sure there's bulls in that, but
oh yeah.
you just, anyway. So it's just kind of a cool,
Yeah.
just the whole, it stretches from right to left. They
Yeah.
couldn't even get it all in there.
That's a panorama. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen some really amazing big herds. It's always fun. One of the things I like to see on my scroll, with Facebook or TikTok or YouTube or whatever. One of the things I really like to see is when the wintertime rolls around and the herds start to get big. There's new video every year of giant herds. 200, 300, 400 elk jumping a fence and just stopping traffic.
Yep.
For 10, 15 minutes. And I myself have witnessed, I think 24 bulls I counted in a row, jumping a fence in front of me, jumping both fences in front of me, jumping the fence, crossing the road, jumping the other fence, 24 bulls just right in my headlights and all in a row like that.
That's cool.
All single file. Yeah.
It's just a description of a video, but a kayaker was getting chased down by a grizzly. So you have these rafters coming down this river.
Yeah.
And a grizzly comes out and just goes after somebody on a kayak.
I would not want to mess with a grizzly bear in the water.
No.
They are good swimmers.
And they like to drown their prey.
Yeah, and prey drown easy. That's an easy death. That's probably a lot quicker death than I would get from a grizz on land.
Yeah.
So if I have to go by grizz, I'd do it in the water.
Yeah.
But man, to have seen the elk drowned by a grizzly bear, and it's over fast.
Yep.
It's over fast. Elk are not good swimmers, and bears are really good.
So this next story comes with a little bit of sadness. I saw the headline and I go, you have my attention. What does this mean? And it says, what the loss of pure bison means for conservation.
Okay.
So researchers went to all the herds known to be genetically pure.
Yeah.
Statistically speaking, from their sampling,
Yeah.
there are no pure herds left.
Really?
No pure herds. There's strand of beef in all herds of buffalo.
Wow, the beefalo.
And so at some point, the herds intermingled just enough that, and so they talk.
Well, they were deliberately crossbred.
That, and just with the way things had not been checked and how the herds of buffalo got so small, so it made sense that that's what they found. But they also talk about this isn't the end all for buffalo, of course. It's just that there's no genetically pure strains that they can determine any longer, and that it is a step. It is a step in the direction of the evolution of buffalo for what it's worth.
Better or worse.
Because, and it's not the first time man has influenced that with animals, but it's just, if you were thinking that there was genetically pure bison, according to their statistical analysis, their random sampling of the herds known to be pure, including the Yellowstone herd, there's a herd in a couple herds in Canada.
Yeah.
One on an island. I can't remember what the island's called, but there's a herd on an island that was always said to be pure. Nope.
Wow.
Nope.
Wow.
Nothing yielded genetic testing purity for bison. And they mentioned 4 different subspecies of bison. I know that there's other species,
Right.
But it's always a reminder, like, of what we've lost.
Yeah.
But since then, I've found a species of bison in northern Canada and Alaska. That people are recovering. They recently released like another 1,200 or something into the wild. So they're really trying to bring this population back. They thought it had gone extinct. It's a larger bison, has a thicker coat, lives in colder climates, and they're slowly bringing it back on board.
Good
for larger populations. I don't know that they tested that group, but I would imagine probably not genetically pure either. But
yeah, it's tough. I mean, there's cows all over Alaska.
yeah.
There are, and all over Canada.
Yeah. So
they're just there.
this is the last story we have today is about the 2-for-1.
Okay, hold on, because I had another story. Oh, you got the 2-for-1. Did you get all my stories in?
Yeah.
Okay, I had another one about bears.
Okay.
I found a story about bears, and you always seem to have encounters on trails.
Yeah.
And so they've done some studies, and they go, yeah, bears like trails. They just do. That's why bears, if you watch them walk, their back foot always lands where their front foot was. And it's efficiency of movement.
Okay.
Bears are low and close to the ground, and moving through grass or moving through snow,
It's tough.
It takes a lot out of you. So they prefer paths. They
All
prefer
right.
a nice Forest Service maintained trail.
Wow.
Enjoy your hike, camper. That's all I wanted from that. So bears like trails.
Well, makes sense.
Okay.
I've seen one bear off trail, 2 bears on, but
Close.
plenty of sign.
Yeah.
Plenty of sign out there.
Yeah.
So this 2-for-1.
Yeah. You've been teasing this for an hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do I describe what I'm looking at? A hunter takes down 2 bucks, and they're nice looking bucks. They're whitetail bucks. This is back east.
Yeah.
Oklahoma, I think.
Okay. That I don't know if that's east.
Kentucky. Sorry.
Oh, that's definitely east.
Kentucky. My bad. Kentucky.
Okay.
I guess I just got to the chase.
Yeah.
He kills this buck, and it looks kind of odd from a distance. He gets up close, and apparently this buck had been in a very hard-fought battle with another buck.
Okay.
And somehow winning the battle, but remained interlocked. One of the bucks died, and most of its body fell off. Oh. And so the antlers are interlocked. So there's 2 heads.
Wow.
But it's...
Wow. That's insane.
The deer was carrying around a dead head.
Wow.
Of a battle it won.
How much work is that?
I don't know.
How much work is it to kill something and then to carry part of it around?
And then to just be shot dead
jeez.
yourself.
Oh.
Man, he doesn't even
mean, to be fair, I've done dumber things to chase girls.
Right.
Whatever they can think of as dumb,
like,
I've done dumber.
It's pretty gross, but at the same time,
that's amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That is awesome.
So there you go.
That is crazy.
A legal 2-for.
Wow. 2 deadheads. That's amazing. I know. I don't know if I've ever seen elk stuck together or heard of elk being stuck together.
I've heard of.
There was one story.
There's one story here in Idaho where the rancher wouldn't let anybody on the property, and he let them perish. So,
yeah.
As nature, I think we've talked about that very.
But is there
story
pictures
here.
of it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Hunters saw it, and they brought it to his attention. He's like, "Stay off my property. It's just nature." And Forest Service is like, "He's right."
Yeah.
You know.
It might have been cool to let them harvest, I guess. But
coincidentally, speaking of man interfering with nature, they did that in this book. At the very beginning, it's old black and white photos, but they come across. They're on horseback. If I can find this real quick, I found it quickly earlier. They're heading into their hunting ground. They come to a wallow, and at the wallow is a bull elk stuck in the mud. It's literally up to its neck in wallow. Where did it go? It's like a whole bunch of pictures. And
did they take it? Did they harvest it?
No, they roped it out and let him run off.
Oh, nice. On their way to hunting.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It's a big old bull.
Yeah.
Well, not a big old bull, but he's big enough. He's like a little raghorn. It's like a little 4-point.
Yeah, yeah.
So they got pictures of them with the ropes around doing all that stuff. So.
All right. Well, that's it. 18 days to elk season.
18.
It's 20 days, just 3 weeks out.
We got one more podcast, you think? Maybe 2?
If it's 3 weeks out, maybe
2.
2. Maybe 2.
All right.
Before elk season. So if you haven't skipped leg day, if you've skipped leg day, don't bother going to leg day now. It just won't matter. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Any leg day helps.
your real conditioning, you could get yourself in real good condition over the next 3 weeks. You could do a 5K 3 times a week.
I got to get back on the treadmill. Being sick with COVID last week. Ugh.
Oh, that sucks. That sucks. That's all right. It's over. You got it past you.
Yeah.
You move past it. But it's before elk season. You don't want to be sick during elk season.
No. This is like, if I have to be sick, that's the week I'd rather be sick, because it fell between, summer job and fall job.
Yeah.
I mean, it got in the way of me doing some camping last weekend, but
that's why I never call in sick to work. I'm going to be miserable. I'm going to be miserable at work. If I'm calling in, I'm going fishing. I'm doing something, but I'm not calling in sick. I'm not using sick days being sick.
Fair. That's fair.
Ever. That's a waste. Just go to work sick. Anyway, maybe that's not the best advice.
Maybe not
in a post-COVID world,
or
during COVID. Anyway, whatever. Anyway, have a great week. Hopefully, we'll be back for episode 27 next week. Don't skip leg day.
Wait, why hopefully? Anyway, be well, stay awesome.
Who knows what's going to happen between now and then? Yeah. Goodbye.
Cheers.